Tonight, when the sun goes down, you're going to do something strange. You're going to check that the door is locked. You're going to glance at the closet one more time. And then you're going to leave a light on somewhere in the house, even though you know, logically, that nothing is there. Why? The answer feels simple. You'll say you just like it that way. But the real answer is far stranger. It reaches back 300,000 years to a version of you that never learned to stop being afraid of the dark, because that fear kept your ancestors alive long enough to have children, who had children, who eventually had you. Your brain has not caught up with your bedroom. Think about what darkness actually removes. Not danger, just information. A dark room is not more dangerous than a lit one. Statistically, it's often safer since you're at home, doors locked, alarm set. But your brain does not calculate statistics. It calculates uncertainty. And uncertainty, to a brain built by evolution, is treated as a threat until proven otherwise. This is where the story gets interesting. For most of human history, night was not neutral. It was the single most dangerous stretch of every 24 hours. Large predators like lions, hyenas, and leopards hunted primarily after dark, when their night vision gave them an overwhelming advantage over a mostly diurnal, daylight-adapted primate. Anthropologist Donna Hart, who spent years studying predation on early hominins, found evidence that early humans were regularly hunted, not just hunting. Fossil remains bearing tooth marks from big cats and eagles show up again and again in the human ancestral record. You didn't evolve at the top of the food chain. For a long time, you were somewhere in the middle of it. So when night fell and vision failed, the smart nervous systems were the anxious ones. The individuals who felt nothing in the dark, who slept soundly with their guard fully down, were more likely to be dragged out of camp and never wake up again. The individuals who startled at every snapped twig, who kept one ear open, who felt that low hum of dread when the light disappeared, were more likely to survive until morning. And survival, over hundreds of thousands of generations, is the only vote that counts. That dread didn't disappear just because you built walls and locks and electric lighting. It's still wired into a small almond-shaped structure deep in your brain called the amygdala. This is your threat detector, and it doesn't experience time the way you do. It doesn't know that lions have been extinct in most of the world for millennia. It only knows patterns. Reduced visibility plus unfamiliar sound equals possible predator. That equation hasn't been updated since the Pleistocene. Here's a question worth sitting with. Have you ever been completely alone in a house, heard a creak, and immediately known, with total certainty, that someone was there? Not suspected, known. That instant conviction is your amygdala overriding your rational cortex, because in an ancestral environment, the cost of a false alarm was low, a wasted moment of fear, but the cost of ignoring a real threat was your life. Evolution doesn't optimize for accuracy, it optimizes for survival. A brain that cries wolf constantly but survives the one real wolf wins every time over a calm, accurate brain that gets eaten once. This is sometimes called the smoke detector principle, a term popularized by psychiatrist Randolph Nesser in his work on evolutionary medicine. A smoke detector that goes off too easily is annoying. A smoke detector that only goes off during an actual fire but occasionally misses one gets you killed. So nature built you loud, oversensitive, and prone to false alarms. Your fear of the dark is not a flaw. It is a smoke detector doing exactly what it was built to do. But there's a deeper layer to this, one that goes beyond predators. Psychologist Karen Tanya Dijkstra and other researchers studying nighttime fear have found that darkness doesn't just remove visual information, it removes social information. You can't see faces, you can't read expressions, you can't confirm who or what is nearby. Humans are an intensely social species, and for nearly all of your evolutionary history, safety meant being seen and recognized by your group. Darkness strips that away. It doesn't just hide predators, it isolates you from the tribe that once made you safe. That isolation itself registers in the brain as danger, separate from any actual physical threat in the room. This is why a child alone in a dark bedroom often doesn't just fear monsters. They fear the aloneness itself. And this is why adults living alone often report more nighttime anxiety than those sleeping next to a partner, even when the objective risk to both is identical. It was never really about what's hiding in the dark. It was about who isn't there with you. So what happens when you flip that light switch back on? You are not just illuminating a room. You are performing an ancient ritual of safety, one your ancestors performed with fire instead of electricity. Anthropological evidence suggests that controlled fire use, going back at least 1 million years based on hearth sites studied by archaeologist Will Robrooks and colleagues, transformed human sleep and social behavior. Fire didn't just cook food and provide warmth, it extended the day. It pushed back the darkness that had ruled human vulnerability for millions of years before that. Gathering around a fire at night became one of humanity's first shared safety rituals. And some researchers argue it's where extended storytelling, social bonding, and even the earliest forms of culture took root. Because for the first time, humans had hours of firelit safety with nothing to do but talk. Your nightlight is a direct descendant of that fire. It's strange to think about, but when you leave a lamp on in the hallway, you are doing something a human being has done every single night for over 1 million years. You are pushing back the dark because some deep, ancient part of you still remembers what happens to the ones who don't. Here's the twist most people never consider. Modern life has actually made this fear more confusing to your brain, not less. You now live in constant low-level light, from screens, from streetlights, from phones glowing in the dark. Your circadian rhythm, regulated by light-sensitive cells in your eyes, discovered through research led by neuroscientist Ignacio Provencio, evolved for a world of true darkness, followed by true light, not this endless twilight of notifications and blue glow. Your ancient alarm system now fires in an environment it was never calibrated for. Sometimes you feel that primal unease not because there's a real threat, but because your brain no longer gets the clear, unambiguous darkness it needs to properly rest its guard. So the fear itself hasn't gone anywhere. It's just gotten confused about what it's supposed to be watching for. Think about the last time you walked into your own dark kitchen at night and for half a second, your heart rate spiked before your rational brain caught up and said, "It's just the fridge." That half second is the whole story. That half second is 300,000 years of ancestors who didn't get to finish that sentence. Because for them, sometimes, it really wasn't just the fridge. You are not irrational for wanting the light on. You're carrying forward the exact same instinct that kept your entire bloodline alive long enough to reach you. Every ancestor in your lineage, going back before language, before agriculture, before fire itself, survived enough dark nights to eventually produce you. The fear isn't a bug in your programming. It's a message passed down across thousands of generations that finally, tonight, reaches your bedroom. So tonight, when the sun goes down and you reach for that switch without even thinking about it, you're not being paranoid. You're listening to the oldest voice you have.